Today, we're talking about employees and customers. Many have been working, many will not come to work, but we are reopening this economy. There are new anxieties, new normals, and we've got a therapist and a wellness specialist to talk to us about how we do things as we reopen this economy. I am Lisa Ellen Smith, and this is Focus on Business. I'm so happy to have Amy Ritsema, the co-owner of On-Site Wellness, and Leslie Auld, owner of Therapy Today, with us. We've got a really interesting show. I think it's very timely. This is really about businesses and the reopening effort that's happening across the state of Michigan. I believe that many businesses are paying a lot of attention to a lot of the right things, but inadvertently, maybe they're overlooking some key aspects. And those key aspects to me are employees and customers. Amy is here today. Amy, you work very specifically with companies about wellness. First, would you set the stage and tell us a little bit about your company, and then address that question for me. What are people overlooking?
Yeah, so first off, I'm Amy Ritsema, and thank you for having me on the show today. Super excited to be here. And On-Site Wellness provides wellness solutions for organizations across the state of Michigan and beyond, just providing them with blended wellness solutions that help to bring a well-being effort to their organization. And we are firm believers that employees are your biggest asset in your organization, and we need to treat them well, and we need to care for them, and it will only impact them and your organization if they're healthy and well, right? So to answer your question, we keep seeing all this stuff, and SBAM has done an amazing job of getting PPE available to all of our small business owners and all of that, and that's super important. And I think we are so focused on our preparedness plans and our PPE and all these things we need to do to function as a business that we don't want to forget about our employees, because we need to remember. Yes.
Well, Amy, I just want to chime in and say that PPE is personal protective equipment. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
Thank you for clarifying. So masks, gloves, face shields, hand sanitizer, all of that good stuff, right? And it's very important that all of our organizations have this stuff in order for us to reopen. And so when we think about all of that, we need to also remember that our employees are reentering the workforce, potentially having been home for a while or been on furlough or unemployment, and now they're being asked to come back and be in a crowd. And employers really need to remember there might be a lot of anxiety around those employees coming back. There might be a lot of hesitancy for those employees to come back. And so communicating these things to them, how are you making them feel safe? How are you keeping their health and well-being in the forefront? Are you giving them tools, either mental health tools, and supplying them with some information on, whether it's therapy, for instance, if somebody needs it. Is there an employee assistance program available? Do you have a wellness solution or wellness coaches that might be able to help people? Financial is another big one. When you think about financial well-being, people may be a little bit strapped right now. And so are we helping them or being empathetic to the situation that they're all in? And so I would just really encourage leaders and businesses to be really thinking about their employees and their people and how they may be feeling, because every single employee coming back feels differently. And that's a big task. How do you be that empathetic leader today and be able to take on that responsibility?
Well, I think we're going to get further into that conversation today in the show. The new normal is now the normal. People's ideas about what we're seeing and what we're feeling are completely different. Everybody has new things popping up, new anxieties. I know one of the things that I'm experiencing right now is as I watch television and I'm seeing a show that was filmed a long time ago or before COVID, sometimes in my mind I think, well, they're not social distancing. I mean, I'm watching the show thinking these actors are not, and this is a show.
Yeah.
It's just an automatic new normal for me, and it's a new normal that has anxiety attached to it for me. So I want to take a minute here, introduce our second guest, Leslie Auld. Leslie, you have one of the most amazing businesses that I've ever heard of. It's called Therapy Today. And I first learned of your business and your mission for your business and was just gobsmacked at how smart I thought it was. Your mission is that everybody should have therapy immediately and not wait 3 or 4 months for a spot to open up. But I'm going to let you please set the stage. Tell us a little bit about Therapy Today. And then what I really want to know first here is, what are some of these common anxieties that you've seen that business owners are going to want to know about since this new COVID pandemic has taken hold?
Okay, yeah. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me on the show. And I own Therapy Today, counseling and consulting. And we've been around about 8 years now with the mission of making sure no one ever has to be alone for very long with a difficult emotional problem. And so we're Therapy Today. We try to get people an appointment the same day if they're feeling like they need that. And so there's been a lot of calls for help with anxiety since COVID started. People very fearful about becoming ill, people very fearful about causing other people to be ill inadvertently, or losing their jobs, or all the different things. We notice that couples are having troubles if they don't agree about how to do the social distancing. Maybe one person in the couple wants to be very strict about staying home, don't go anywhere, don't talk to anybody, and the other person would like to be able to see other family members and things like that. So there's a lot of anxiety and conflict coming up around things like that. And then how to go back into the workplace now that we've reopened has caused a lot of anxiety too. Is it safe to go back? Is it not? And with therapy, it's very difficult for us to do our work wearing a mask, and yet it's not a safe thing to do, to be in an enclosed space for 45 to 60 minutes without masks on. So we're probably going to be sticking mostly to telehealth for quite a while until it's deemed safe to be back. Although some folks are seeing people who just really can't do the telehealth. So we are seeing some in-person appointments too.
Well, thank you for that. I am very surprised at how really pervasive telehealth has become. I have never experienced a telehealth appointment to date, but I presume there's one in my future. Has that been a good solution for a lot of folks that a lot of your clients?
Yeah, I think it has been a crucial solution for people to be able to stay connected to the work they're doing on their mental health and reach out to get some help and ideas how to navigate this difficult time. It isn't the same as being in person, and there are some real drawbacks to it. But given that people wouldn't feel safe and wouldn't be safe if they continued coming in person without masks and that sort of thing, then telehealth is the best option, and people are getting a lot of help from that.
Do you have therapists who have made the decision that they're going to see people in person now, that they're probably more allowed to do that?
Yes. There are some people who are having a hybrid of some people they see in person and some people they see over telehealth. The customer always gets to make that determination. if they want to be seen over telehealth or in person. And then in person just has a lot more restrictions in terms of masks, and people have to wait outside until it's time for their appointment and that sort of thing. But we're doing as much as we can remotely right now. And then some people are working in the office. There's a varying comfort level among therapists and among our clients. Some people feel just totally comfortable going back to as usual, and other people think they won't for years to come. So it's very individual, one person to the next.
Yeah, I think it has to do with how well your brain is processing risk and how the amount of risk that you have around you, for sure. When we think about employees, Amy, you were talking about the leadership aspect of leaders bringing employees back. There's got to be some tools. I presume that in just like other relationships, the best way to find out and gauge where we are is to ask. And so that might be, there's got to be some advice you have for employers on what are some of the tools that you recommend to take that temperature, to make sure that you have your pulse, your fingers on the pulse of how your employees are feeling, and being able to respond to your employees' varying anxieties, like Leslie was talking about.
Yeah. You know, I think the tools used are going to be very client by client or organization by organization, and comfort levels and that kind of thing. I think for me, I've had a lot of conversation with a lot of human resources professionals over the course of the last 3 months, which is kind of a lot of the circles that I'm in and who we generally work with within organizations, and just having conversations with them, because as a business owner, I'm also asking these same questions, right? How am I going to do this with my employees, and how are they going to feel about it? And I'll work from home, and so if they go to a client, do I have to take their temperature? I mean, we're going through this right alongside all of our clients, and so we're having very open conversations with our clients. What are your expectations of us when we come on board and come back on site? But I think as far as tools, I can't. What I keep hearing from all of my peers is transparency, transparency, transparency. And if we can be transparent with our employees, we are taking your temperature. This is why we're taking your temperature. This is where your temperature is going to be stored. What's the HIPAA compliance with this? What's the confidentiality? I think a lot of employees are probably like, well, where are you going with this information? I have to fill out this health questionnaire every day, and you're taking my temperature, and where is that housed, and who's storing that, and where is it going? And so going back to Leslie, you know, the anxiety of all of this is enormous. And you can't take my temperature. I don't want you to know if I have a temperature. And then you've got the person that's saying, please take my temperature because I don't want to get anybody else sick if I'm sick. And so and everything in between. And so, you know, the tools, I don't know if there's like one tool that's perfect for everybody, but from a leadership standpoint, to really acknowledge that every single one of those employees is an individual, and every individual is going to feel differently. So maybe having those flat out conversations, if you feel like somebody is struggling with it or they are upset about it, to just simply sit down with them and have that conversation. What about this is making you nervous? What about this is uncertain for you, so that we can fix it and make it right so it works for you, so you feel comfortable coming back to work and working alongside your peers? What can we do to make you feel more comfortable? Which, you know, isn't always been our thing, right? We're usually like, this is goes and this is what you're going to do, and, you know, you're going to play by the rules, but we're in a whole different ballgame. So
I noticed that we're talking about So we're talking about people going back to work, but there's a whole segment of people that had never stopped going to work. They've been going to work. They have
Right.
been dealing with the anxiety of this. And so as this has unfolded, now there's more people who are entering. I guess, what have we noticed in terms of adjusting to this change? I know that one of the things that I feel very uncomfortable with in my own self is, I would normally go out into the world and feel like, okay, I'm in charge of myself and I'm in charge of my own behavior and I'm good with that. But now I go out and I see people who maybe are not taking as many precautions as I'd like. And now I'm feeling this urge to control their behavior as well. I want you to wear a mask. I want you to step away from me. I want to step away from you. I don't want you to walk toward me when I'm talking to you. There's a tremendous amount of control that I never used to have to balance in my own interactions with people. So I guess, Leslie, how are people adjusting in the workplace, both employees and customers, to this new change?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's an individual again, but a lot of people feel like you do. They become angry and anxious when they see others not taking precautions, and then some people are not worried about it at all. So it just runs the gamut. But many customers I'm noticing are saying that they are good staying on telehealth for the foreseeable future. Uh, why rush back into the office? All of our admin staff are working from home, and they can continue to do that for as long as they like. So we're just working with people, like you said, Amy, asking people what makes them feel comfortable, and then trying to help them feel as comfortable and safe as possible. And also, taking the precautions to keep people safe, of course.
Well, and I think, Lisa, to add to that a little bit, if you don't mind, is that, you know, the name of my company is On-Site Wellness, meaning we like to go on-site, right? We want to be where the people are. And we've always had an online platform and a mobile app and all of that stuff. And so, we transitioned kind of like telehealth to doing all of our programming online, right? And as we look to the future, and as Leslie said, there are a lot of people who are like, I'm good with telehealth. This is great. I'm willing to keep doing this. And as we look at companies and wellness programs, we're also kind of shifting to say, do you need us to come back on site? Do the live webinars work for you? Or do you need us to come and do, or do we need to go on site and teach an education class? Can we do telephonic wellness coaching instead of, coming and talking to people in person in a conference room? And so I think we're going to see that same type of change, and every organization is going to handle it differently. Just from a well-being standpoint, but physically, where are you? Are you home? Are you in the office? Are you a combination? So I think I kind of like it. I don't know. I think it's giving people the opportunity to do it differently is amazing and great. So
I've often said, I felt like before this happened, like I was on a hamster wheel and I was running as fast as I could and I was out of breath. Every day I would have to prepare for the next big thing that I had to prepare for. This happened and I got off the hamster wheel and I could just breathe for a minute. So there has been that aspect of just the slowdown. I think many people have recognized, okay, and let me also recognize some people did not stop working. This was me. But there are people who revved up, worked a lot harder, healthcare workers and people who are on the front lines. Those folks, I know that their new normal is probably going to be very different too. On just the business community, I think we all figured out a lot of digital tools, which isn't so bad. Maybe you bought Zoom stock and you were pretty happy about that. But let's talk, Leslie, any final thoughts for getting back to work here from customers and employees?
Yeah, I just to keep reaching out to people to see how they're doing and supporting them. I don't think we'll ever go completely back into the office, and I'm just talking about businesses in general. I think there's going to be a change that there's a lot more working from home no matter what happens with the virus going forward. And people have adjusted to that, which is a pretty positive thing because a lot of people do better working from home and they're more productive.
Amy, final thoughts?
I think I've been living by the motto of what can I let go of and what has to stick. And if I look at things that way from a business owner and from a programming standpoint, I think we're going to be super successful.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Be safe out there, and my heart is with you both.
Thank you.
As more states report increases in COVID cases after they've reopened their economies, I think more business leaders are going to realize that there is going to be a second wave, and we need to plan for that second wave, especially as we get close to flu season in the fall. So one of the challenges that we have with the remote workforce is we're trying to communicate with our video conferencing. And when we moved into this work from home environment, everybody just took their stuff and ran to their homes and were left with their computers, their laptops, the cameras and the microphones on their laptops. And that might be fine for an occasional video conference, but not when you're doing it every single day. So here's what we need to do. We need to get better as business leaders to educate our staff on how to conduct proper video conference calls, especially for people that are FaceTiming or getting time with customers on camera. So we have crappy cameras. Bottom line, we have crappy sound. We need to fix that. We need better cameras. We need better lighting. We need better positioning, so not the laptop shining up into our face or with a window in the background or with poor lighting in the room. We need a professional camera. We use the Logitech C930E and highly recommend it. It's about $130. There are none available today. So when I'm talking about planning, we need to plan and order this stuff so that it'll be here next month or in the fall. We need better sound. Okay, if sound is not good, why are we even having this conference, especially for someone who's leading a conference? Okay, that needs to happen. Sound canceling, there's some software that you can get. It's from Crisp.ai. I'll recommend that one. It's about $5 a month or less if you buy a quantity, and that will cancel sound in the background, dogs barking or kids fighting in the other room, or lawnmowers outside. Okay, we need to get that stuff in place so that we can have better conferences. We need better skills at presenting. If someone is planning to have a meeting with a customer or with internal staff, that they have stuff up on their screen already and they know where the screen sharing button is on their video conference app, and they can quickly say, I'm going to share my screen, click, and everything is there, and they're not fumbling around and looking unprofessional. And finally, I think we need better internet speeds. If you're working from home, or as a business leader who has people working from home, encourage your employees to upgrade their internet plans. If they haven't looked at it in a year, it's likely that they can get faster speeds with the same amount of money or maybe even less money. So take a look at those 5 things and we'll have better meetings. We can help with all of this stuff. Find us on the web at makingtecheasy.com.
Focus on Tech, brought to you by Providence, making technology easier.
Denise Policella for Focus on Legal. If you have an employee that informs you they've tested positive for COVID-19, don't panic. It's going to happen to most of us eventually. But there are 4 things that you should do at this time to protect yourself legally. The first is, of course, talking to the employee. He or she needs to stay home and in isolation until they're cleared by their county health department to come back to work. Make sure that you reassure the employee they will not be disciplined or discharged or retaliated against for informing you of their status, and follow this up in writing and put it in their medical employment file. You also need to inform your staff that they have a coworker that has contracted the coronavirus so that they can do their own assessment of whether they have been in close contact with this person. And if they have, they are going to also need to quarantine until such time as it's been determined according to current guidelines whether or not they can come back to work. Also, you should probably tell them to keep the name of the person confidential, just for privacy concerns. You also need to inform all of your customers. This can be through a press release, an email, a text blast. Let them know what's happened and let them know what you're doing to clean and remediate and protect them, because they will be engendered with a sense of confidence in your services and in your company, that their safety is top of mind and your first priority. And this may include, if you haven't been involuntarily closed, closing voluntarily for a day just to do a deep, thorough cleaning. And this will also give them a sense of confidence that their safety is your first priority. And then finally, if you're a licensed or regulated business, definitely inform your licensed administrators or your regulators of what's happened so that you've self-reported, which is always the best thing, and that you can follow any additional guidelines that they have for you before you are allowed to resume business. Also, remember, always consult with a licensed attorney and stay safe and healthy.
Brought to you by Policella and Associates, PLLC.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next Sunday.